Hello everyone! Blizzard has released a new short story on the WoW website called Code of Rule, and those that want to read it, I'll place a link in the description so you can check it out for yourself. I've had a couple of requests from you if I could actually cover the story in a video, for those that don't want to read it, but unfortunately there isn't that much story to cover. It describes how the Ogres of Heimal joined the Iron Horde, and at this point in time, Garrosh, he has already secured his position as advisor to Grommash. Grommash, he has seen visions of the future for himself, and they prevented Gul'dan and his warlocks from ruling the hordes. Even though Gul'dan was imprisoned and they've killed Manoroth, at least I assume that at this point they've already taken out Manoroth, the Legion is still aware of their planets, and Garrosh knows that in order to stand against the might of the Legion, they're going to need some sort of advantage. On top of that, they're also planning a war against our Azeroth. We have warlocks, we have mages, we have death knights, all kinds of magics unknown to Draenor. So in order to stand a chance, they'll need the skills of the Ogres. Ogres have the skill to build up an immunity against one type of magic by use of magical stones found on Draenor. In order to get the Ogres to cooperate, because at this point Orc and Ogre, they're still enemies with each other, the Iron Horde, they lay siege upon Heimal, and Imperator Margok, he receives an offer from Grommash Hellscream himself. The Iron Horde is not simply after killing the Ogres, they want them to cooperate, they want to work together, and they also want them to prove their worth, so Margok and a few of his Ogres, they go out to Grommashar to negotiate. Eventually during the negotiations, Grommash, he wants the Ogres to prove themselves, so they're sent down into the fighting pits, and the Ogres, they're placed against a group of imprisoned warlocks. You have to understand that the demonic magic at this point in time, it's completely new to Draenor, it's incredibly powerful, and the Ogres, they have the ability to wield the stone, that they become immune, but these demonic powers, this is completely new to them. Nearly all of the Ogres, they're wiped out by the warlocks in the pits, except for one of them, namely Korak. Margok, he uses the stone in an attempt to make Korak immune to the demonic magic. And like I said, normally they can only become immune to one type of magic, which Korak already had inside. Some way, somehow, Korak has the gift, the ability to become immune to another source of magic, and he becomes immune to demonic spells. He manages to take out the warlock. Margok has proven his worth to the orcs, and he will grant the orcs the same immunity. He will start training them. It will take years, generations, but eventually the orcs of the Iron Horde, they'll also receive the immunity that the Ogres have. Margok doesn't have much of a choice, considering that the Iron Horde could wipe them out in Heimal, so for the moment, the king is going to pretend to behave and serve the Iron Horde. Should the moment arrive, should an opportunity or weakness be there, then you can be certain that Margok will turn against Grommash and his orcs, but as we know, that moment never came. We took out the king in Heimal, we even took out the gifted Korak and his immunity to magic. We dismantled their legions, and that's pretty much the short story done. Like I said, there isn't that much to tell. There were a few bits and pieces that I found interesting. For example, in the story it describes that reinforcements for the Ogres, they were trying to come from the sea and they were shot down by cannons of the orcs. This to me is a small hint, a small teaser that there are still reinforcements for the Ogres waiting somewhere. And I still have high hopes that we'll see the Ogre Empire that you can see in the bottom of the map on Draenor. Then there was another line about the Ogres. It said the following: "His people were born at the beginning, when the great forgers squeezed the light from the enormous ball of fire that would become Draenor. They made Ogres from the same smoking clay and gave them dominion over stone and earth." Forgers that squeezed the light and created Draenor. Who are these forgers? It's, in my opinion, most likely a reference to the Titans, which is interesting, since so far we only had confirmation that the Titans shaped worlds, not so much created them out of a fireball of light. It's not a big deal for Draenor. Most likely the Titans, they created the planets, they created creatures to help them form and shape the land, like the Grom and the Gron and the Ogres, and they left the world to do its business. Now, if you draw this information to Azeroth, then it becomes a little bit more interesting, because we know for certain that the Titans, they came down, they kicked some old god butt, and they worked on shaping the land, creating giants, creating Irvin, all that good stuff. Now that we know that they can actually create planets as well out of nothing, perhaps it was the Titans that created the planet of Azeroth in the first place. That would mean that the sequence of events, that the timeline becomes a little bit different. It would mean that Titans showed up, they created the planet of Azeroth, and for some reason, they left again. Old gods, they came down, they infected the planet, to which the Titans returned, kicked old gods' butt, and they shaped the land. That's one way that it could have happened. Of course, you could also say that Azeroth was simply there already, that the Titans or the so-called Forgers never had to create the planet. That's also a possibility. But I thought it was kinda yeah, kind of interested to see more Titan lore come to the surface. We also know that, I believe at the end of the year, we'll also get a comic about the origins of Azeroth, more lore about Titans and Trolls and whatnot. So I'm still very excited to read about that. I can't wait to hear more about the origin story because, you know, it's all kept in shadows. We don't know that much about it. Can't wait to get more information. Like I said, everybody, there wasn't that much information to share about the short story. Now, if you want the details, the whole politics bit behind the ogres, the whole negotiation and whatnot, the link to the short story is in the description, so you can check it out for yourself. That's me done for today. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you very much for watching once again. And until next time, guys. See ya!
Our bond is iron. Our will unbreakable. Who will stand against us?